When I was 18 years old, I had my first official job interview. I had my hair and makeup just right, and I was dressed in the most business-like attire I could muster from my very trendy college closet. I had my resume printed on the exact right form of parchment paper that the Office Depot clerk said would guarantee me results. I had done everything just right. I had this in the bag. And as I was answering every question perfectly, out of nowhere I'm asked, how many gas stations are there in the United States? My body and my brain momentarily froze. I actually got colder. What was happening here? How was I supposed to respond? And then something else happened. My brain started working again. I looked down at my hand and rapidly started saying, well, there's 50 states, and roughly 300 million people in the United States, around 1/3 of which are driving age. Take into account the relative population density around the major cities. At that point, I hear a frantic, stop! I look up, and the hiring manager has this pained expression on his face. He says, what on earth are you doing? Answering your question? No. No, 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 no. The correct answer is, I don't know. But I can find out for you. When he said those 3 words, I don't know, I had such a visceral response, my hands actually clenched the chair, and I was sure I was going to get kicked out of there and never asked to come back. How could my body be reacting to just words? What was the last time someone said something that made you instantly react? What made your cheeks flush, your stomach tighten, your knuckles whiten? The story about my job interview illustrates something that happens to all of us, the connection between external events and our internal thoughts and emotions. But these external events must have relevance or motivational significance in order to cause adaptive behavior. For example, is the event good, bad, or neutral? Does it evoke pain, anger, or pleasure? What are its past associations? What does it predict? What is a relevant, appropriate response? It's our evaluation of these events, combined with our past, that determines how we feel and react. For example, a child, when they first find a dog, may initially love to play with it. But if they get bitten, they may become fearful of all dogs for the rest of their life. Now imagine your first relationship. Initially, when you see that person, you may evoke feelings of desire and happiness. But after a nasty breakup, seeing that same person could elicit feelings of tension, anxiety, anger. During my interview, I was darting about between the extremes of pride, then surprise, and then disgust because of my previous associations. When I was 8 years old, I went to school. A normal occurrence, I know, but this was no normal day. We were going to get to see the first teacher launch into space. It was 1986, and it took 3 guys to bring in the ginormous 19-inch television set, and another just to tune in the right station. So all of our eyes were glued to the screen when shortly after takeoff, the unthinkable happened. The shuttle exploded, leaving no survivors. Something within me snapped. Suddenly, every conversation with me had something to do with NASA or rockets or space. Other kids said they wanted to be an astronaut. I meant it. I studied everything I could find about the missions, all of Operation Paperclip, and the Mercury, Saturn, and Apollo missions, the test pilots, even our country's greatest competition at the time, the Cold World shielded USSR. There was nothing that could satisfy my need for knowledge. I collected information about the astronauts like other people collected baseball cards. I used every ounce of persuasion I could find to get my parents to take me to my favorite place in the world, the U.S. Space and Rocket Center, a full 3 hours away, just so I could stare at the capsules. I had read and reread The Right Stuff so many times that when I met Chuck Yeager the first time, I actually fainted. There was nothing that could stop me. And what kept me going all those years was my unending, extreme desire to learn. For me, the greatest crime you could ever commit was not wanting to know things. What I hadn't yet realized was that's not actually what was happening. It's not that people don't want to know. It's that they have different reactions when they encounter things they don't know. The things you know are contained in this safe, certain place. All of the things you know, everything you need to live, are here. The things you don't know are an ambiguous blob of uncertainty. It's pretty scary out there. But then there's the things that are kind of on the edge. They're the things that we encounter every day where we could choose to learn more if we want to, but we know that there's some things that we could never unlearn. Just ask anyone that really needed to know what was inside a chicken McNugget. Everyone needs a little bit of certainty, but some can deal with a little bit more ambiguity than others. Fear, anxiety, anger, shame. When we encounter the unknown, our reactions are actually quite similar. Our faces flush, our stomachs tighten, our bodies momentarily change temperature. But then, in an instant, another emotion washes over us, depending on whatever we consciously choose. For me, until I was 18 years old, that reaction was, without fail, to answer the question. And then, one night in college, when I was doing my homework of all things, I read something that changed my life. The Greek philosopher Socrates wrote, "I myself know nothing, except just a little, enough to extract an argument from a wise man and treat it fairly." This unlocked something inside of me. Suddenly, everything that I'd learned about the space program and everything seemed somehow insignificant because there's always more. I now had the key to being comfortable with I don't know. I was given this wonderful gift and was able to jump headlong into the world of the unknown without a map to guide me. So I found myself at my college graduation without a job, just a packed car and a destination. I applied for the first job I found in the want ads that was the most unlikely for me, a shy computer programmer, to take. I became a flight attendant, smiling and singing my announcements, where I met my husband, a pilot. He and I chose to leave the skies and come back down to earth, joining the world of entrepreneurship. In a 40-foot RV, we chose to crisscross the country, searching on an endless path for serenity, far away from our young startup. We traded the classic comforts of home for our cramped trailer on wheels. So one night, as we were driving exhausted down a desolate 2-lane desert highway in some nondescript town, we saw fireworks up ahead in the distance. It was likely for us to have lost track of days, so we checked to see if it was a holiday. It wasn't. We kept driving, and again, fireworks. Onward we drove, and more fireworks were going off ahead of us. We just decided to enjoy them, to settle back and smile at each new blast. Curiosity had now set in. What were they for? Where were they coming from? Like moths to a flame, we were drawn to the source. It turned out to be a lone man in a dirt lot, setting them off one by one. We decided to ask him for his motivation. His answer surprised and delighted us. He said, "Seeing fireworks makes people happy. I'm doing my part to change the world." He used information he had from his past associations. He didn't care or know who would see them, but he knew that somewhere it would have the effect he wanted. Without fear, he reached out into the unknown and pulled me through. Your brain gets information in two ways. Your senses tell you what's going on in the outside world, and your emotions interpret that information and make it relevant. Just like if you are in danger, you will be motivated to run. And if you are hungry, you are motivated to find food. Your emotions take care of all of your needs this way. In this, we were taking care of the known and unknown. Going towards the fireworks, we reached towards the known, to the unknown, and we found a beautiful known. We found the world of possibilities there. Any unknown you encounter, you do not need to be afraid. You can choose the endless possibilities. Neurotransmitters are working within your brain, activating every time you encounter an unknown. Just like any time you enter in a fight or flight moment, you can choose, shall I flee or shall I fight? I promise you, if you choose to fight through, relax, and enjoy the wondrous possibilities of the unknown, it will be a wonderful thing. What was the last time someone said something that made you instantly react? What made your lips curl, your cheeks flush, your stomach flutter? The next time that happens to you, your body is trying to tell you something. Listen to it. There's such a world out there if you will embrace the unknown.